if I had more of a marketing machine and like a brand behind me, and I had, mailers going out and billboards with the brand and things like that, I'd have more of an asset at this point in time than I do right now. Welcome to the Entrepreneur Motivation Podcast. I'm your host, Chris Bello. Today, I am going to be talking about a mistake that I made that I'd like you to learn from. Hence the title of this episode, Learn from My Mistake. No notes or anything, no bullets on this. I'll just kind of chime in on my thoughts and ramble a little bit about what's on my mind. So the last few years, for those of you who followed my journey, I tried to invent a product with a friend. I quit a corporate job. I got into real estate back in 2018, and I have been in the real estate space for 4 years now. I started off working with a company for about a year. Then I got my real estate license. So I've been learning and growing and iterating. I've enhanced my speaking skills. I'm very good on the phone. I can converse with someone or conversate, whichever the right word is. I use tonality. I'm good at asking questions and pausing and saying, so what's the purpose of you selling? Or can you tell me why you want to sell? Pause, right? Those little things where you give some space and you allow people to explain why they are wanting to do something. What is their motivation? I've gotten good at all those things through experience and practice. But my biggest regret and the biggest mistake that I think that I've made, that I know a lot of other self-employed people who are in similar spaces and industries also make, is I failed to focus on and really create a personal brand or a brand in general. I have been creating some sort of personal brand. If you go to chrisbello.com and you book a call with me on Calendly or any of those things, there's Chris Bello, there's some little fake logo that I made in Canva in 2 seconds, and my name is starting to become a brand in its own right. If you Google my name, you'll see, the first pages of Google are me, for example. So that's cool. Like, I'm starting to just share stuff, and I've been posting content for Chris Bello and also for Entrepreneur Motivation Podcast. But again, I feel like it's just me, and I'm still on this self-employed treadmill of hustling for deals and filling my pipeline with new opportunities. And I only get paid really when closings happen. I have been diversifying slightly with coaching some people, also offering some automation systems for people who want a done for you setup. So I'm helping real estate agents specifically. I'm niching down, right? The riches are in the niches. That's what I'm doing. I'm focusing on helping fellow real estate agents that suck at automation to achieve leverage through automation and delegation. That's been my main offer, my main way of helping people to learn a few things that I've been able to learn. But at the end of the day, what's been frustrating for me is I realize that I don't really have like a company or a brand. Yeah, I have an LLC. Yeah, I drive traffic through there, but it's still very up and down. I don't really promote the name of my LLC. Not everything ties together. So I may have mentioned on my stories or possibly recent podcasts a couple months ago or so, my business coach was challenging me to really focus on coming up with a brand, something that I could rename my podcast to, something that I could have a logo for, that I could wear a hat or a shirt with a nice little logo that represents my brand, what I stand for, what my movement is about, what this podcast is about. So I've been brainstorming some things along those lines, and part of me has been excited to make a change. Part of me has been frustrated because I have tried to create a few LLCs that never did anything. I tried to file a trademark before, and I got a cease and desist from a competitor with a similar name and a similar font. And so I've been down that path slightly of trying to get intellectual property and running into roadblock after roadblock, which, I mean, that is entrepreneurship. You're going to run into challenges and snags. So for the last couple of years, I've just been like, all right, let me put my head down, do the work, figure out how to make money, how to generate opportunities, which I have done. But I'm realizing now that I wish I had gone, if I could go back. So for those of you just starting your journey, hopefully you can kind of learn from where I am a few years in. If I could go back, I would have focused on building a true brand and building everything in my business around that brand so that it wouldn't just be Chris Bello or chrisbello.com. It would be insert brand name. But because I'm a real estate agent, and I know there's a lot of people who are insurance agents and maybe like financial advisors, right? Most people are with like a brokerage of some sort where they hang their license. For example, I've been with Keller Williams for a few years. Other people might be with like Coldwell Banker or EXP. There are financial advisors that I know that are with like Mass Mutual or Northwestern Mutual, right? There's different companies that people have representing them, or they work for those companies, even though they are independent contractors. So what I see a lot of people do, and what I've done too, is I've kind of built and promoted the brand of the brokerage, the Keller Williams, the KW, right, over the last few years. In fact, if you're on my email list, which if you're not, you can get on there by going to chrisbello.com/free. You're going to get my complete life tracker, super helpful file. I've had a lot of positive feedback. But once you download that and learn how to use it and figure it out, there's a video on how to do that. You're going to end up on my email list where you'll start to see the 1 or 2 emails that I send out to my list every single week. But where I'm going with that is that I am still even using my KW email. That'll come from my chrisbello@kw.com email. I haven't taken the time or the steps to just create the chris@chrisbello.com email, because part of me is also like, I want something more than just chrisbello.com. I don't know what that's going to be. I see people that I know who have been building their brands for the last few years, whether it's drop shipping or whether it's a house buying company of some sort, such and such buys houses, or like Virginia House Buyers, or whatever the name may be. They're building an actual presence and brand and company that seems larger than just one person, and it seems more professional. And in fact, they can grow into those different things. Now, I know hindsight's 2020. I always know that the grass appears to be greener on the other side. People who think I have it together and I'm killing it don't realize that I'm looking at someone else who's killing it even more. It's always like that. I realize that, and I realize that whatever, I can't do anything about the past. I better just focus on the future. But again, this is just for those of you who are listening to the show who are maybe newer on your journey, or maybe you're in a similar position to me where you figured out how to make a little bit of money here and there, but you're realizing you don't have a whole lot to show for it other than the deals that you've closed. I heard someone say, you're only as good as your last deal. And man, that freaking hit me. I heard that on a podcast. I'm like, that's me. As soon as you close the deal, you're fired. You're on to the next. You got to go find the next client, the next closing to get your next paycheck. And nothing is guaranteed or promised. You don't get fed leads for most of these companies. You got to go self-generate. And that's where I've been. And so I feel like I don't have as much to show for it other than me putting in time and effort and getting then results on the other side. If I had more of a marketing machine and like a brand behind me, and I had, mailers going out and billboards with the brand and things like that, I'd have more of an asset at this point in time than I do right now. Now, I'm not trying to throw away the value of the email list that I have and the work that I've done, the 380 plus episodes that are out there. Those are all mini assets for me in a way where at any point in time, people are listening to an old podcast of mine, watching an old YouTube video of mine. Perhaps they're hearing me on someone else's podcast from a show that I recorded 3 or 4 years ago. At this point, all the little seeds that I've ever planted are coming back, and the plants are starting to grow, and people are starting to find me and download my free tracker. They're getting on my email list. They're signing up for my free training for real estate agents. They're taking me up on my paid offers that I am making, in addition to working with me directly for real estate needs or sending me referrals. Like, those things are happening here and there. It just feels like it's not happening fast enough. And I know we all feel that way, but I'm just thinking that if I had a brand, if I had more of a presence, perhaps I'd be a little further than I am at this time. But again, it's all part of the journey. So I'm not trying to sound like I regret this too much, and that I'm super sad that I didn't make all these changes, because these are lessons and I'm learning from them. I'm iterating and I am growing, and I am actively pursuing the next step, which for me, I believe is just really honing that brand name, rebranding my podcast, filing a trademark, having a cool logo, wearing some merchandise, and representing whatever that movement is for me. I may have mentioned before, I am pretty inspired by, some brands like Gymshark and Alphalete, what these folks have done. Arete, right? I'm in the Arete Syndicate. Every call that I jump on with other members of Arete, they're usually wearing a freaking Arete logo on their shirt or on their hat from the merch store, because it represents something that they stand for, that they agree with. And I'd really love for my company, my official brand, one day to do that. Now, I don't want to start a clothing store. I don't want to try to compete with someone like Alphalete or Gymshark. I just like the idea of having my own brand represented, so that instead of me recording these podcasts with like a Vans shirt like I'm wearing right now, or Alphalete or Gymshark, I want it to always be my brand. And I don't, of course, want it to say chrisbello.com. I want it to be bigger than just me. So those are some of the things that I'm thinking of. And that's the mistake that I've made, that I think that I've made, that I'd like for you to learn from. Be very intentional about what's your brand, what's your message, what are your core values, what do you stand for? How do you convey that? Does your message that you share with others align with how you are in real life? I just heard that on a recent call as well that Ed Milet gave to the Arete group that I'm a part of. And so it's been fresh on my mind of brand awareness and brand strength and how to maintain your brand during these tough times or uncertain times. And I'm realizing more and more that, like, dang, I don't really have a freaking brand. I'm tired of seeing, Chris Bello dash realtor in my Google Maps. I want to do something bigger than that. I want to be something more. And it's great. I have all 5-star reviews and happy clients and pictures at closings with previous clients that I've helped buy or sell real estate, but it's still not quite as big as the vision that I have for myself. And so that's what I am working on personally. Now, what are you working on? What is your brand? What do you stand for? Have you actually spent time to think about this stuff? Because clearly, as you can tell, I have not. I've thought about it a little bit here and there in passing, but I haven't really put a whole lot of time and effort into like the colors behind my logo, what they mean, getting a trademark done. Those types of things I think are very important to focus on from the get-go, because if you can get very clear on your vision, your mission, what you stand for, everything else falls in place much more clearly, and you can make decisions based on those core values and what your company and what your vision, what you stand for. Whereas I've been a little bit more wishy-washy because I don't really have the core values. I don't really have something in particular that I stand for. Maybe I'm taking on clients sometimes that I shouldn't, and they don't fit my brand values and my core values because I haven't really defined them. And I'm kind of just going with a gut feeling in most cases. Can you relate? I'm assuming that some of you are nodding your head in your car or at the gym or on the treadmill, wherever you are. Some of you are probably nodding your head saying, wow, that is me. I am a self-employed person on this treadmill, on this hamster wheel, finding more clients, closing more deals. But at the end of the day, if I'm not putting in time and effort, I'm not getting any results. The business owner, which is that next level, outside of just the self-employed, you quit the job, that's great, you're self-employed, now the buck stops with you. To become that business owner or investor, that's that next level where other people are growing and representing your brands, and they're going and spreading your messages and bringing in new clients and taking you to the next level, where you don't always have to be grinding and putting in time and effort of your own to see results. Others are also doing that on your company's and on your brand's behalf. So learn from that mistake that I made. Let me know in the comments below if you're watching this on YouTube. Can you resonate with this? Have you gone into the brand direction? Do you have awareness about what your brand is and what it stands for? Or are you going to take action on my mistake and figure out what your brand is and what you stand for? Let me know again in the comments below. If you are on Apple Podcasts, make sure to subscribe if you're not already. Please leave a comment if you have not already, and share this with a friend if you found some value. Same thing on YouTube. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and I look forward to catching you in the next one. If you have any feedback or anything, always drop those in the comments below or send me a DM on Instagram. I've been working on bringing on cool guests that are in my network or that I'd like to get to know a little bit more closely. So a lot of them have been people in the Arete group that I'm a part of. But if you have any guest recommendations, if you think there would be anybody interesting that I should bring on the show, I can definitely reach out to them and see if we can get something scheduled. But with that said, that's it for this episode. Make sure to hit that like button if you haven't already, and I'll catch you on the next one. Thanks so much.